the recent Manchester United run. That's 3 games in a row or 3 matches, however you want to talk about, however you feel comfortable with the word.
Yeah, whatever the you're thinking.
Yeah.
Keep thinking it.
Yes.
Baby.
And guess what? Carrick is at a point where there's a lot more pressure for him. Not to say there wasn't pressure, but when you fire the manager, you have your interim, you're more like, okay, we might toss out the season. Just kind of ride the bus a little bit while we try to find a new manager. But when this guy is putting up these kind of numbers, like we said, I think when was it, 3 weeks ago, that if he does it for 7 to 10 games, now it's more like he's auditing or he's what's the word? He's really applying for the job.
Right.
So
go ahead. There's almost no pressure when you're interim or, it's mid-season. There are a lot of situations that can likely manifest between then and the end of the season.
Yeah.
But your solid results are now putting a very serious bid in for your long-term tenure there, which is what he wants. But it's funny when you finally do get what you want. Sometimes you don't make the most of it, or sometimes you can't handle the weight of the scenario, or you didn't realize that you didn't want the severity of the potential outcomes of it once it's finally there. But the entire team looks motivated. He seems like he's gotten some cohesion out of the guys. Casemiro's playing like prime Casemiro again. Like, where did this guy come from?
Well, Carrick said, well, I am sorry to say the football didn't leave him.
But look, man, he's turning everybody there into superstars, and even with the Patrick Dorgu injury, which doesn't look like it's too serious, but it could be several weeks out. Once you start getting the best out of that midfield, that was the majority of the issue. When you prioritize the wing, but your guys up top might not have the most skill out wide, or you're sending your wing backs up and they're not able to really transition back quickly on defense because your midfield is completely without motivation and athletic capability. But the way that he's implementing tactic for the press, those midfield guys you're able to get more out of them. They're not running as ragged anymore, and the guys that still have pace down the wings can still go.
But what changed though? Well, we can say, is it the overcomplication of the previous managers, which is Amorim and Ten Hag? But I don't know if that's an accurate way of saying this, because I know Mourinho doesn't complicate a lot. Well, Mourinho actually had the best of United at the time. But
I think that Emery's real issue was the fact that he didn't give them a lot of tactical awareness, but he still insisted on certain things happening on the pitch. So, he wasn't necessarily... If you were asking him, likely, you're like Ruben, what happens if I'm the wing back and we're on a quick counter and I'm up where fucking Mohamed Salah is supposed to be playing? I'm all the way up there. How can I get back? And he would be the one that would kind of say, don't worry about that. Focus on your position. It's like, right, I am. That's why I'm asking you this fucking thing, because it doesn't make sense to me. It looked like he didn't really have a lot of answers for what the system was that he was wanting to implement, but he did demand that they do certain things, and it left them often exposed. And you blame the players for a lot of things, but you blame the manager for a lot as well. And I think that what was happening was a lot of the players were getting a lot of flack for being given the preliminary aspects of direction, but then not being able to follow through with it.
Another thing, playing 4 defenders instead of 3 help a lot, because you don't have the young defenders to execute whatever you're trying to play, especially if you're doing a 3-5, whatever it means. The defense is actually working hard, but to do that, you need young people that are fast too. I'm not saying they're old, but come on, guys, it's defending. Once you pass a certain age, it's kind of hard. But you have a four back line, and you have 2 midfielders, because you're playing. Carrick is playing 2 CDMs. Now, my boy may know where they were saying, oh well. Not that he's not still doing that, because I just think it's a product of him being not as refined. He's young. He's 18, 19. He loses the ball and whatnot, but he defends. And the past 2 matches that I have seen from him, good passes, good awareness, good
Go ahead.
You know, and he does the job. So he allows Casemiro now to say, hey, man, I'm going to create things that y'all never seen.
Yeah. Well, and that's partly what I'm saying as well, is that, you know, when a young player turns the ball over, do you want him turning the ball over with 4 men and another CDM in that proximity to make up for the mistake? Or do you want a CDM that's having to run back on transition, Casemiro, who doesn't have the legs, and 2 of your defenders are fucking up. They're up in the opponent's box is what's happening still. And so, you know, you're allowing for players to make small mistakes, and no one player is really getting burned for honest mistakes, because you're not going to win every single duel. You're not going to complete every single pass. These things are what every single player has lived with and will live with until the end of time.
So
right?
That's true. I think the simplification of the game to allow I like Manchester United to bring the best out of their own individual players. And the other thing that I am saying too, Sesko, the past games has been just slowly increasing in terms of what we are expecting Sesko to act like or to play like, you know.
Right.
So I'm really excited to see what will happen with this United.
You've got young players that are forging very early, very swift identities. You know, Patrick Dorgu's made a great name for himself very quickly. Kobe Mainoo did also, and even with the time out, people were still talking about him because they understood what he can contribute despite some of his flaws. You know, Amad Diallo comes in immediately and makes an impact as well. Your older kind of stalwart players, Bruno Fernandes, when you get him in the right position, it doesn't matter if because he was never the swiftest guy to begin with. That was never what he really brought to the game. Bruno Fernandes is one of those players to me that reminds me of a Kevin De Bruyne, in that the older that you get and the less legs that you end up having to be able to bring out each game, it doesn't matter, because that's not what he's there for anyway. He's got vision, he threads passes, and you can do that longer than you can fly up and down the wings like a madman. So don't ask him to be overly complicated in the physicality of the attack, but also don't waste his assets by having him sit back and defend too deep all the time either.
That's not good. So do you think that if Carrick does this for the next 7 to 10 games, do you think that United will give him a shot at being the manager? Or they'll still be, you know what, we still need to hire a manager.
I think they should, because, you know, you're slowly working up the best of both worlds here, where, you know, your team is playing much better. You're getting the actual results. People can see what you're doing on the pitch, both individually and the overall task at hand. But also, every single player since he's taken over, their stock has grown.
That's
what you have to keep, because, you know,
especially for a team too.
Yeah, because you know, you can look at some of the older players that might be in Serie A or something that are able to dig out results, but they're not pretty, and the turnaround value for these guys might not be that high because they are a little bit older. But every single person in this Manchester United side, if they keep this up, if they find themselves in that top 4, top 5, every single player, young, old, healthy, injured, doesn't matter. Like they've shown that they do have assets and values to bring to other clubs as well. And so I mean that's what you want. You want to play well, but everybody else to also have their value for, because it is still a business. But you don't want to be like Chelsea and over prioritize the selling and buying aspect over the performances on the pitch.
That's true.
And so right now he is able to get both sides under control here.
I wonder if it's just gonna be a Di Matteo situation at Chelsea 2012. I know he took the team as interim because they had fired the coach, and he went and win the Champions League, but they didn't give him the job. That's crazy.
So, I mean, big things can happen in January. People like to pretend that, you know, it's all emergency things. Like, no, there can be measured decisions made in January, and you know, I mean, because even Tuchel coming into Chelsea in January and then winning the Champions League for them, he stayed a little bit longer, but it's like you can get very quick season defining results halfway through the season. So I expect that a little bit more from United than I do Chelsea at the moment, because at least the squad for United's a bit more defined.
Yes.
Not only just in their roles, but like who you're expecting out there now. Because for a while under Ten Hag and under Amorim as well, it was like Chelsea, where the starting 11 didn't really seem to have a defined shape. You would look at each one like an individual work of art, like, ooh, that's new this weekend, and it rarely works. Also, because you need to have guys. The majority of your starting 11 need to be guaranteed. If they're healthy, I know exactly where they are. I know roughly what formation there's going to be, because that impacts the players as well. This whole smorgasbord of 18 different players can possibly play, and we don't know the formation until we're out there tying our laces. It's like that doesn't work for the fans' confidence. It doesn't work for the players or the coaches as well.